Welcome to AI Arch Wizard. I am here with a friend from west coast of USA, and we would like to take a look how to do software development with help of AI tools. So, hello, friend.
Hello.
Are you there?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
So it's morning on the west coast, and I am here in Europe, and it is afternoon. So go ahead.
Sure. Okay. So what we're going to do is, starting from scratch, we are going to build some software to parse RSS feeds.
Can you explain what is your environment? Because my guest from North Carolina had Linux, Manjaro, and my guest from other side of the USA, the lady that she had Windows 11. What is your environment?
This is a Chromebook, so we are running Linux.
So it's Chrome OS underneath with Linux. Okay.
Yep.
Can you just write uname -8 so that we can see?
Yeah.
Penguin. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's just the standard Linux that runs on a Chromebook. It's
so it's
fairly
Chromebook,
old.
but it has Linux, so it is very nice. Yeah.
And this is a somewhat older Chromebook that I'm just using for purpose of this demo. The point is that we don't need a lot of fancy, like to use AI tools for coding. So I wanted to kind of show these techniques with very minimal setup. So I don't even have cursor on here, no VS Code. We're just going to use Claude Code on Linux.
Line. So you're using
command line, and we're going to use a browser.
And Claude Code has this textual user interface, so it's everything.
That's right. So we're going to. That's right. We're going to see that now. So before we started this meeting, I put Claude Code on this machine, and we're going to write a program in a language called Go. So there is also the Go compiler on this machine. Okay, so I'm going to trust the folder, and this is Claude Code. And what we'll be doing is building a feed parser. So in podcasting, we rely on something called RSS,
but
which is a format. Yeah.
Regarding Go language, because some people like Rust, our common friends like Rust.
Yes.
Can you because I am OpenClaw fan, and I had situation that I needed a skill that required Go. And
yes.
I installed this skill, including Go, on my Linux where my OpenClaw is running, and it failed. It had problems. And my OpenClaw called it himself the same tool, the same skill, but using Python.
Sure.
So why Go? And can you say something shortly about Go?
Oh, only because it is fast. It's a compiled program that, if you go way back, there was a language called C, and one of the
C++.
C. Before there was C++, there was C, and one of the creators of C got hired by Google, and they decided to kind of write a new systems language, a new language for low-level glue.
It is called Go because G in the name, like Google. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, okay. I don't know the full story, but yeah, they hired one of the creators of C, and then that created a team that wrote a new language. Python would be just fine. In fact, part of what we're going to do here is
Go is compiled. Shortly speaking, yet it's compiled.
Yeah, and it's very fast, and it's type safe. It's a great systems language. It doesn't have all the fancy things that Rust has. But there are trade-offs. Right?
I don't have it fresh in my mind, but could it be that Kubernetes is written in Go?
I think that is right. Yeah, I believe that's true.
Then it is cool. Okay.
Yeah. But here's what's really interesting. We're going to start by writing a specification for what we want to do. We're going to write a spec, and the spec will not be in any language. I mean, the spec will be in English. So we could potentially take that spec and turn it into Python, turn it into Go, turn it into Rust. It doesn't matter. We have to understand something about how computers work, but we don't have to care so much about the language.
So what you are saying is you don't have to be computer science graduate.
A little bit. So you'll see what I mean when I start to write. So hold on one second. I have some I have some alarm going on my phone, but hopefully you can't hear it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Are we?
If you have dog or cat that are meowing or barking, it's fine.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to start by just writing some English, right? We're not going to write any computer code yet. And what we're going to do is specify the problem we want to solve in English, in natural language. And I'm not even going to need to write the whole spec. What I'm going to do is I'll prompt Claude Code to write the spec.
So you're using Sonnet or Opus?
It's set for Opus. You can see it here. Okay. Right, I have this Claude Max plan, right? So we won't run out of tokens fast. Okay. All right. So are we ready? So what we're gonna. Sure. Okay. So we are going to. What we're gonna do is we're gonna write some software that parses an RSS feed. Right. RSS is for what we use for podcasting.
So it's XML, specific format for XML.
Yes. Right. So let me just start
for blogging and podcasting.
Right. So let me start by doing some writing. I'll say, let's build an RSS parser. We'll focus on the problem of very long feeds. So
parser means a program that interprets a specific language and converts it to objects.
That's right. Okay, so yeah, it's how blogs and podcasting work. So I'll say we'll focus on the problem of very long feeds. Some may have thousands of items.
And I thought that 100 is long.
Yeah, exactly. To solve this problem well, let's use a Sax parser.
So will you specify that there are RSS with for podcasting with enclosure or without?
Well, let's just say that. Let's be sure to include support for enclosures for podcasting. Let's also say out of scope are non-RSS 2.0 feeds like RDF and Atom. Okay.
But Atom is JSON anyway, so.
Yeah, actually there is an Atom that's XML, but we're just gonna say like.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we're just gonna say like, hey, let's just focus on RSS2 feeds. All right. And a Sax parser is a kind of a parser that doesn't have to load the entire feed into memory first. It will process information as the items come in.
Was this important when the feed is big?
Yes. And so now we'll say the goal will wrap the core parser in a CLI tool, command line interface tool that accepts an RSS 2.0 feed URL as an argument. Don't start building yet. Let's write a specification document.
With UML diagrams or without?
if you want.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
I'm not. I think for this we won't have a database, but I'm going to go ahead and send this. I'm going to hit enter, right? And what it's going to do now is.
So you are not PowerPoint architect. You are a real developer here.
Yes, right. And I have a couple files in this directory, which Claude is looking at, but really can ignore for now. I have a couple of examples of very long feeds, and by the end of this video, we will parse those feeds, and we'll basically watch the parser work through them. let's use Go. Actually, let's chat about this. For now, let's not worry about the implementation language and runtime.
He proposed you Python, JavaScript, and Go.
Right, and we're going to say for now, let's not worry about the implementation and just focus on a language-agnostic specification.
So you are working on the conceptual level.
Yeah, once we're happy with the concepts, we'll pick a language. All right, so what we're doing here is really kind of a back and forth, chat with Claude Code. Let's see. How should the CLI emit parsed items from a multi-thousand feed? Actually, we're also going to we're going to say emit parsed items. We'll just provide a curse. What do you call it? Text progress to the terminal, not store.
Not in the
items.
percentage.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do, right?
It's just percentage. Yeah.
And then we're gonna say what podcast relevant namespaces. Look at that. It's picking up
iTunes.
It's picking up podcasts, content encoding, everything's fine. All of the above. Include. Oh, I see. It's check marks. So here, let's just do it this way. Hang on. We'll add iTunes. We'll add podcast. We'll include. We're basically including everything. Lenient, strict. Let's be strict. It's asking things I'm not so worried about. Yeah, it'll fetch from URLs.
So lenient would be good if we like to be very universal, but we don't have to be.
Yeah,
flexible.
we're just.
You have you prepared some sample XML files locally?
Well, what I have is yes and no. What I have locally is a couple of feeds that we can feed it, right? So I'm ready to do that. These both of these feeds have
very
more
long,
than 1,000 items. Okay, so it's writing a spec.
Swirling. So what swirling means what?
Sorry?
Swirling. He says swirling.
I don't see it. In the window here?
Yes. Lower. To the left.
Lower.
Higher.
Swirling. Yes. Swirling is a verb. This is Claude Code trying to be amusing. When they are sending progress, they pick different verbs. Swirling, clodding, churning. They make up all these funny verbs. Just to say I'm working on it.
So calculating, computing,
right? And the funny thing is they recently added a second progress. It's kind of annoying, actually, right? They have the swirling and then they have the almost done thinking. So it's like one verb.
I think OpenClaw is also trying to be very funny and has similar terms.
Yeah, so some of the other tools also do.
From the OpenClaw, because I don't know if you know, but OpenClaw is inspired by Claude Code.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a very good interview with the creator on Lex Friedman's podcast. I don't know if you know Lex Friedman, but he interviews.
Yes, I have heard. Yeah.
And he called it CLAWD as kind of a pun, right? Claude.
Yes.
Anyway, hold on. Yes, I want to create, and I'll allow all edits. Okay, so this is where it starts to get interesting, because now we have a spec file. And what I do, this is my
Hold
workflow.
on, wait a minute. There's architecture word used there in the terminal. Architecture. So you are architecting without UML? Is it some kind of magic?
Yeah. So if we look at the spec that it wrote, I like this very much. There is this plugin called Markdown Viewer, and so what I do is
I wanted to ask, what kind of magic is that you see Markdown immediately? So can you what Chrome extension Markdown Viewer? Okay, I see.
Yeah. And then what you do is, so here I can look. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but look at this. There you go.
Wow,
It tries to
architecture.
create flow diagrams, and sometimes it gets the
It's
vertical
not
lines
UML,
off.
but it's kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Very
And
good.
and by the way, there's a very nice Markdown extension called Mermaid, which can create very beautiful
Yes,
diagrams.
I know, my mate.
Yeah. All right. So we're not going to worry so much about this, but it did write me out an entire spec. And now
But
what we're going to...
what is clever that you are not just right away vibe coding, so to say, but you are just creating design.
That's right. That's right. And notice that,
Wow,
I
you are
specifically
so
asked
clever.
it. Yes. So I asked it specifically, hey, like, don't create the code yet. Just write me a spec. And what I will often do for my own
Programming language
projects...
is not mentioned.
Yeah. What I'll often do for my own projects is review this spec pretty carefully and iterate on it before I even start to code. For this video, I think we're going to go straight to coding because we don't want to be here for like 2 hours.
So, sure. We don't want to bore people.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is... I do usually look very closely at these open questions, right? So let's look at the open questions.
So you know what is interesting, because nowadays in the era of agentic AI, also the OpenClaw and Hermes and other agentic AI software is using Markdown as kind of input.
That's right. That's right. You can think of it as source code, honestly. It's just the source code.
Can you, for people who don't know, shortly mention what is Markdown?
Yeah, Markdown is a text format. So if we look at it in this terminal, Markdown is just text, right? It's
okay. So there is no tags. Everything is in text.
Correct. And what happens is, like, if you see here these two, hash marks, that tells it to make a heading, right? So if we look purpose and goals here, we see purpose and goals here. And that's
what is funny is that the inventor of Markdown is not even developer. He is a blogger, the John Gruber. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And
so
it's a very good
invented
format.
But what I'm thinking to better understand stuff. So John Gruber invented it for as ability to write in text and then get for HTML kind of formatting. So he invented it for blogging, but now it is used as input for different files, like skill files.
That's right.
And so on, for agentic AI and for, how do you call this coding? Agentic engineering or vibe coding?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
All of the above.
It's fascinating.
It's fascinating, right? Because, we were all... There was a time when everyone was very excited about XML, and that time has passed.
No, but too many tags. This less sign.
It's machine friendly, but it is human hostile.
It's cumbersome, for humans.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just take a quick look at these open questions. Parser surface unrecognized. I just want to make sure there's nothing big here, and then we're gonna go on.
Oh, podcast. There's podcast. So.
Okay, these are good questions, but I'm gonna kind of dismiss them quickly. Parser. So on the open questions, and I'm just doing this for simplicity. Ignore unrecognized namespaces.
You are very good because they are showing the whole process.
Yes.
You are not showing just right away web coding, but you are showing how to design, how to architecture, how to prepare. It's excellent work.
Multiple times per second. I'm just addressing these questions.
So can we say that this is like software engineering of current era?
This is what I think software engineering will increasingly look like. Yes, I think you still need to know computer science, but depends on the ambition of the project you're trying to solve. There's many, you can vibe up all kinds of things and they'll be useful, and that's great.
So you're kind of orchestrator of agents, or
yes, exactly. So I think it's changing the way we do this kind of work.
Skedaddling. How should I know? I am not a native speaker in English. How should I know what is skedaddling?
I think this is just unfortunately something that happens a lot in software, which is people try to be clever, but then their cleverness winds up alienating other people.
No, it's fine. I'm just surprised.
Yeah, no, but it happens all the time. Okay. All right, so here, let's actually write some code now, right? Okay. Okay, let's code.
One short question. is it Go or GoLang? Because I have read
both. It's just Go is a very, there's many uses of the word Go, so it's ambiguous. And so if you want to be sure to that if you want to be very careful that the intention is clear, then you say GoLang, right? But
this is the same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Go and GoLang are the same thing.
Okay.
Let's use GoLang. It's already installed on this machine. All right, so I'm just going to say let's code. Let's use GoLang.
But it's incredible how little you need. There is no Visual Studio Code. There is no JetBrains, nothing. You have just command line.
That's right. That's right. Now,
it's incredible.
It's debatable. We could still open an editor and do careful line-by-line reads of everything this is creating. And, if you are shipping software where the stakes are high, where people,
enterprise, you mean?
Money is depending on it, or
mission critical
well-being.
Of financial software.
Yeah, things like this. You're gonna want to read it much more carefully. For us, just demonstrating. If it works, it works, and we're not that worried about it. But let's go ahead and.
So I have one side question, and don't be annoyed.
Sure.
But what about unit testing? Why do you neglect this?
Well, so I did not put in the specification that we should write unit tests, but it will probably create them anyway. If you think about it. And this is where things get really interesting. Like, what is the purpose of unit tests, right?
No. Listen, the purpose is when you have pipelines that you deploy to the cloud, that you can run tests in pipelines, and then you are sure that you don't deploy junk.
That's right. And there's other things too, right? If you think about it, at least to my mind, when we write software, we kind of write it 3 times. Okay, we write the software, right? We write the code. We write the spec. Sometimes in the old days, we used to write the spec after the software because nobody would get around to writing the documentation until after. And then you write the unit tests, and they are all describing the same behavior. It's just 3 ways of writing the same thing. Now, the tests are kind of what I might call drift protection, right? You figure out what it is your software should do, and you write tests.
From my point of view, I'm just used to deploy stuff to cloud via pipelines, and then unit tests or functional tests or integration tests. A lot of kinds of tests are needed because otherwise you can endanger a system where you have like thousands.
That's right. That's what I mean by drift protection or regression protection. Basically, you have a moment in time where you have decided how your software should work, and later maybe you want to make a change, and maybe that change is intentional, or maybe you created a bug because you forgot about something.
So in this case, we can imagine to avoid drift, you would have some templates, some test XML files, and you would run the tests and expect on the input this templates, this text XMLs, and then feeds, and then on the output some fixed expectation, and then in this way you could ensure that whatever you are here changing, after all the changes, everything will work.
That's right, and that you didn't break anything. Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention that you should if you do professional software, use this test, not.
And the other thing is when you're doing this professionally with a group of people, maybe not everyone on the team understands what your software, what your intentions were. And that's why, again, you get some protection from unit tests. So I'm not trying to say...
People from the team see only part of the elephant and see the tail, and they think it is a snake and so on.
Yeah. By the way, it's kind of funny. You can see that there are some bugs in the terminal here.
Yes.
They probably focus more on Windows and Macintosh, but I'm sitting here running on Linux. So, but that's fine. The code
they focus on the Macintosh mainly.
Yeah. So this we can chat, which is great because this is taking some time to finish, but. Sometimes people will, create these agents and give them, some really long running task and just, go to sleep and wake up in the morning.
So why is it so slow? Because Opus is so slow, or
I'm sure, or maybe it's also a function of, other people using Opus, and maybe some of these requests are waiting in a queue. Yeah.
But generally with large language models, sometimes when you use the more intelligent model, it takes longer. And in this case, you are using Opus. So if you would use Sonnet,
That's
probably
right.
it would be faster. It would be faster, but the quality of the code would be lower.
Yes. And it's not just that the model is larger, it's that they program in like the creators of the model build in what they call thinking cycles. Like they sometimes the model will produce an output, and then the model will the algorithm will introspect the output and do several cycles before returning to you, the user.
So I know I have to admit that I don't have a Claude Max subscription. I have only Claude Pro subscription, which is the basic one.
Yes.
Because I use it mainly in Chrome extension for Claude.
Yes.
And for such tasks like you are showing, I'm using Codex from OpenAI.
Yeah.
But the point is that everybody has different preferences, and I also tested Qwen for coding 3.6.
Yeah.
So the rumor has it that Claude Code is the best for coding, but I would say just test it. Try different. Try OpenAI Codex. Try Chinese models. Don't be close-minded.
Yeah.
But in this, and then you don't have to use Claude Code. You can use Open Code. That was in my previous videos.
Sure. Yeah, I'm finding
Code Code is just one of the best.
Yeah, it's very, very good. I have to admit, for a long time I would use Cursor and quickly switch between different models. But I would say for the last several months, I've been using only Opus.
Yeah. I have good experiences from Claude AI from a couple years ago when I got a dental bill, very complex, many pages, and I had some questions about it, and ChatGPT at that time couldn't answer, but I uploaded to Claude, and Claude answered. So I already then knew a couple years ago that Claude is really something strong, something very good.
But it's also true where if the tools change every week, and so who knows, maybe
yes, exactly.
GPT 5.5 is much better, or whatever.
And
Google's next
China
model
is very quickly progressing. And as I said, Qwen 3.6 and DeepSeek version 4 are very good for codingers.
Yeah. Okay. So we're almost.
So don't be close-minded. But if you don't want to think along, just take Claude.
Yeah. Oh, the terminal is really, really corrupted here, but everything is working just fine. I don't know if you saw, but the Claude Code is now compiling and testing on a real feed. It's running one of my test feeds.
So you have text file with 2 test feeds, and it's testing them.
Yeah, and what we're gonna do is once it's done building, we're gonna run it, ourselves. It looks like maybe it found some bug.
It is a problem with Chromebook probably, because I was using on Macintosh this program called Shellfish.
Yeah.
Which is SSH client for Macintosh, which is excellent, great, fantastic.
All right, I'm gonna say no here. Let me give it a quick try myself. Do I have to tell Claude Code this? No, but I like to maintain a conversational tone. So let's see here. Let's do.
But is it already developed?
Yeah, it's done. So let's run it and see what happens. All right.
Okay.
Hold on. I need to copy. All right, it's copied. We're gonna run let's parse. All right, see it? It's parsing, right? Let's do this. Can you give me a nice single line
how do you know it's parsing?
Updating status line?
Yes, with percentage.
And curses style.
But use percentage number also.
Use percentage numbers. Also, to confirm...
Number, one number.
It's fine. It'll be smart enough to know.
Okay.
To confirm efficient memory usage, print out...
I'm sorry that I'm interrupting, but I think then it will be more interesting for people.
Yes, no, perfect. This is perfect. Print out current memory usage with.
So I am polite.
Update.
I am just interacting for the sake of people.
All right. So what I'm asking this to do is right now it's kind of creating one new line each time, but it feels faster and more responsive if it just kind of keeps overwriting the same line each time.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask it to do that, and I'm also going to ask.
But it is so. We are in 22nd, 21st. Which century we are?
Yes,
we are in the future.
We are. If you think about,
and you are still using the command line and text, man.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, some people would say that the graphical user interface was a step backward.
Okay. I think we have common friends who like Vim, for example, and Vim is available both in text and in graphical user interface.
That's right. All right. So
and even you can use in Visual Studio Code. You can even use Vim mode in Windows.
Yeah, I do actually have typically an editor open when I'm working. I think here I just wanted to show how straightforward and simple the process can be.
Are you saying that you have text editor open? You have integrated development environment open?
Usually integrated development environment. I do have friends that use Vim and Tmux, and what they do is they kind of recreate the IDE. What they do is they create several little windows within their big window that all. So just Vim is
a text editor from Unix times. And what is Tmux?
Tmux is like a terminal. Swiss Army knife for terminal functions.
User interface framework.
Yeah. All right. So it's rebuilding with my new style of, it's pretty amusing how bad the terminal is here with this distortion.
Yes. It's crazy how bad it is.
All right, here, let's go.
I never seen that.
All right. It's running this now. But this is, it's nice that Claude Code really wants to do a good job.
So it's almost retro futuristic.
Yeah. Here, let's try. As soon as this is kind of confirmed working, I'm going to switch back to our window and just try running again. Okay. Let's see. Mm-hmm. This was really built
so you don't even look at the source code.
In this case, I'm not. Again, for things that really matter, obviously you're going to want to read it. But it depending on the importance of your task, right? Now you can see it. Did you see how quickly it parsed? Here, let's run that. Let's do it with the other one. Feeds. This one is like several thousand lines. There's this podcast. It's about meditation.
But can you measure the time with some utility?
Yeah. Here, let's do that. Hold on. Add a final message with the total parse time.
Okay. So no utility, but built in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, it's a question of, well, how important is the software you're running, and what are the consequences if something goes wrong? And then you can decide how careful you want to be about, reading every line of code, right? We will have to work through safety, and we'll have to work.
It is slightly hilarious that he is hiding some characters, so you have to guess what he is.
It is. Maybe the machine is, Skynet is coming. But it does sometimes feel like we are living in science fiction, right? Like if you think of the science fiction of when we, I
think we exceeded science fiction.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run this again, and I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this feed, and we're going to see it's updating the memory usage, and it's always staying a couple of megabytes, which is not very big, right?
But it's showing percentage. This is the most important. Yes, This is great.
Right. And then it says, look, I am done. I have parsed 3,468 items. I found all these enclosures, So
it's not like podcasts that I know about that have 100 items, the latest ones, but it is all of them.
Yeah. And really, this is the end of the demo, right? Like, basically what we did...
Okay, before we finish, can you show me some source code? Because I like to see how it works. Where's the magic?
Yeah, so let's see. Let's look at the tree. Oops, we don't have tree on here. Well, let's look at main. This is just the... this is just the outer shell of the command line.
The main's module.
Right, and this is... You can see it, like, doing request headers and fetching HTTP... Right,
Whoa, it doesn't have comments?
We could add them, but no, in this case, no. We could say, hey, Claude, we'd like you to add some comments. There's a bunch of stuff for...
I'm just saying that usually where people develop, they put comments.
Right. Okay, and then there's a parser with some files in it as well. Yeah. And by the way, here, let's do this, right? Again, if hopefully we're not running too long. This is great.
No.
Hold on. Let's see. Is Python on here? No. Let's do apt install Python.
You have naked Linux here.
Hold on. Maybe we have to say Python 3. No, it's the latest version. Oh, we have to say Python 3. Okay. So I think if we do this, we're going to be waiting a while, but we could just ask it, right? Rewrite this whole thing in Python, please. Right? Because we're just...
No, but hold on. Show me the parser in Go before you do Python.
As I said, there's no limits.
The module that is parsing, the parser.
BI parser? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a parser. Let's just look briefly at what it's got. Some constants that define the namespaces.
Look,
it probably...
It's great.
Yeah, there we go. There's some comments. It brings in encoding XML. So again, it's parsing. It's using a standard GoLang XML encoder, software. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have to reinvent XML parsing. We just have to tell it something about. We have to tell it something about the structure and the namespaces. But most of this, if we go and we line by line read it, should be pretty boring and pretty standard. Right.
So if somebody wants to take a look and check something, he can check, because usually this vibe coding or this agentic engineering people, even the creator of OpenFlow, they are not looking into the source code anymore. They are looking just the functionality tests and stuff. So
and we could for example, the idea of
I just wanted to say that idea of source code as such, it is like something that is hidden.
Yeah. Well, here's another way to think about it. When you write Python or GoLang, what happens to it?
It's compiled.
Right. And what language is it compiled to?
Binary.
Have you ever looked at binary code?
Machine code.
Have you ever looked at it?
Yes, of course.
I
did in my life many things.
When was the last time? I'll just say the last time I looked at machine code was probably decades ago. Right? Like, I don't look at the machine code and read it line by line for everything I do. I trust the compiler to do the right thing.
So you are saying that there's abstraction layer that we should not bother?
Well, it depends, right? I was just listening to a very long interview with the creators of FFmpeg, and the writers of FFmpeg need to look at assembly.
I love this program. It's a fantastic program.
They need to look at machine code every day, because if they don't, their software won't perform fast enough. So for them, looking at the machine code matters, right?
But you know what is funny? FFmpeg is optimized also for Apple Silicon. So it can because FFmpeg is a tool to work with media files, and the speeds that I've seen on Apple Silicon are incredible, like seconds.
Yeah. So for us to look at machine code for most is not important, and so it's going to be the case, I believe, that looking at GoLang for many use cases is not going to be important. Looking at Python for many cases,
we can keep this talk unlimited.
Yes.
But you wanted to show something about Python, yeah?
Oh, I think let's do this. My claim, but it will take several minutes to prove, is that if I just ask Claude Code, hey, create the same thing again in Python, it should be able to do it pretty easily. But instead of doing that right away, instead of doing it at all, let's just say this: is there anything we learned during implementation that we should fold
But
back?
you don't have to prove it. I believe you.
Right. I'm going to go ahead and prompt it not to create the Python, but just to fold back into the spec. Is there anything we learned during implementation that we should fold back into the design doc?
So it's another tip for you.
Yes.
So this is what you are doing now. It's showing another tip for people to use to improve their process.
Exactly. That is exactly the point. So I'm just saying, hey, if you think there's anything that we learned, just fold it back into the design doc. And so it will think about that and maybe make some changes. And
because he tested it and he has experiences.
Yeah, and we didn't, by the way, to your point, we didn't write unit tests, but if we wanted to do a much more thorough version of this, we would collect up a bunch of example feeds and we would create a really like comprehensive test suite. And we would work in this same way that we've been working. I would be back and forth discussing.
But this would be like manual work. But this what you are showing now, it is like self-reflection. So he is reasoning and self-reflecting on the results.
That's right. All right, and so it's saying, look, I found several gaps, character encoding, and the funny thing is, like, you can go back 20 years. And we will all be arguing with each other about character encodings. So none of this has changed. But the point is, it's a lot easier to do.
No, but what is to argue? There is the 16-bit one, the universal. What's the name?
Unicode.
Unicode, exactly. So there's nothing to argue. Unicode, we won.
Right. So this is the end of the demo, the stuff I wanted to cover. But
thank you very much.
Yes, of course. It's fun to talk about, isn't it?
Yes. And do you want to put something to promote for you in this demo here?
I guess my project that I work on outside of my day job is something for listening to podcasts. It's called wherever.audio. Before we started, I was listening to Science Friday, which is this one here. But
so quantum mechanics is still a scam, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's I think it's beyond.
Just kidding. Okay, so this is a podcast player because actually I was talking with my friend from Washington DC about your player, and she asked. Is it standalone? Is it app or is it web app?
Yeah, all of the above. So you can run it in any browser. It keeps all of its data local to that browser. So if you have one on your phone as an app and you have one in your browser, they normally won't talk to each other because the goal here is
we are now showing a web app that is a podcast player but also a standalone player, and it has nice features because what impressed me particularly was that you support car.
Yes.
In Android.
Android and Apple, yeah.
And Apple is called CarPlay, yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
And it's the data stays with your player, but there are tools to move the data between your players. It's just that we are not operating servers, and we're also trying to respect your privacy, right? But you can, there are all these options where you can sync.
But can I continue? Because usually use case that I have is that I'm working on like PC or Macintosh desktop computer, and then I go to buy a cappuccino and I use my iPhone.
Yeah.
So can you continue the same podcast on iPhone if you started listening on?
Yeah. What you would have
desktop?
to do to get that behavior, you would need to as you are leaving your home, you would need to sync the state of your player to your phone, and there is a way to do that. It's a manual process again because we're not running a central server at this phase anyway, and so you would have to manually sync your state
because some podcast players require accounts and you don't require account,
right? And this is on purpose, right? This is again we're respecting your privacy, and so if you want a little bit more private,
security breach is impossible, short to speak.
So you get. You give and you get, right? You get a little bit more privacy, but you give up the ability to have everything be automatically synced.
And you can in future incorporate AI tools, and then we will do another video.
Sure. Yeah.
When you have AI tools for transcripts of chapters of whatever.
Yeah, actually, we support those. Yeah, like it supports transcripts and
yes,
and
but you don't generate them. You support them.
Oh no, it generates them. Yeah. Yeah.
You are generating them?
Yeah.
So your podcast player is also AI tool?
Sorry, yeah. I'm not sure what you mean by iTool.
AI.
Oh, AI tool. AI tool. Sorry, yeah. Just here, let me show you. If you download, whoops. All right, let me try.
But if the podcast doesn't have transcript,
no, I can create
generate one. Wow.
Yeah.
And in web app.
Hold on. Yeah. Oh, nope. So there is something called cores that keeps messing up my attempts to show this to you. So one
So
second.
this is cores is something that prevents accessing other domains.
Yeah,
so
hold on. I'm gonna see if I can find. I think Bloomberg I can download. Hold on. If you are in the app, you don't have this problem, but if it is in the web, you do. So this is downloading. Okay. And
Apple has approved you?
yeah.
Because Apple is very picky, and currently they are rejecting a lot.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Wow.
They passed my app. But I can turn on, this is just the web app, but I can turn on, where is it? It's down here somewhere. On-device transcription. I'm not sure. I've never tested this before, but let's see if it works.
You have it. I believe you. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it will work or not, but let's just try. Hold on. Bloomberg News.
So
now.
we are beta testing or alpha testing now?
Let's see.
I have transcribe button.
Hold on.
Wow.
I had to turn it on in the advanced settings, but let's see if it works. Just 1 second. Yeah, it's going.
It's not. Okay, so it's using Whisper or something like that.
What is it?
There is a library Whisper for transcribing.
It is not using Whisper model. It's using a different one. But yes, it's the same idea, and it's actually running the transcription here in your browser.
Wow, in browser.
Yeah.
So we are living in the future already.
We really are. Yeah, and if, I don't know, I guess if you think it's worth it, we can just wait a minute. It's about 30% in.
We can wait a minute, but can you show in meantime on your command line, you ask something and he finished on the left side.
Sure. I just said, hey, can you update the spec? And so it said, yes, we're gonna fix some things that turned out to be wrong. You know, we're gonna default namespace roots produce a bad root error. So it's just adding a few things about how it's behaving. Full progress.
So he added to specification some additional requirements.
Yeah, here just for fun, let's say we'll ask it, can you rebuild in Python?
Wow, everything. But I'm not sure about Python, because Python was used in data science and now it became a little bit irrelevant in the era of vibe coding.
I mean, Python is, as you see in like OpenClaw, right? Python is everywhere.
But OpenClaw is using JavaScript variant called TypeScript.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. But many people build skills with Python code.
Skills, of sure. But many skills are just curl,
Yeah.
So it's
I saw you had a skill in OpenClaw.
Yes, but I didn't test and debug it. I will do it later.
I put one up too, and the one I put has a little bit of Python in it. So this is still busy thinking, but this one, I think this one is done. Now 87%.
87. So it will be done soon, so we can wait. It's not much time.
Now this is a feature I don't think many people will use. That's why it's hidden away. And
so we are covering so many topics. We are covering coding, agentic engineering, and also here podcasting.
Notice that I didn't have to buy 50 Mac Minis to do this, right?
yes, of course. It's cheap Linux. Very cheap, because Chromebooks are very cheap here. Oh.
Now, this is very interesting. I don't know if you noticed, but what we were listening to in our headphones, or well, maybe you didn't hear it, but what I was listening to,
I don't hear it.
What I was listening to when it played back didn't match the text, and the reason is that I think I'm actually not sure why. I think there might be that when I transcribe it, I might be getting the ads. Well, if it's local and it's downloaded, it should match.
No, but don't worry. This is not critical.
Anyway, I will stop there. But it can basically do some transcribing.
So right the address is wherever.audio, and this is player that can be used on desktop, mobile, and car.
That's right. There's Android version. The Android version and the CarPlay version cost money because I had to do a lot of extra work. So. But if you just want to use it for free, you can use it on the web.
No, I saw this podcast is about AI tools, not about financials.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, not podcast. Sorry, because you are talking about podcasting, you confuse me.
But you can,
this YouTube channel.
You can take this free version and you can install it to your home screen on a phone, and it feels like a native app, and that's free. Anyway, good. Oh, it looks like it started. We don't have to stay till it finishes, but it said, sure, I'll build it in Python for you.
So you plugged your stuff, and thank you for listening, everybody. If you like, please subscribe and give a like. And if you have any questions, please ask below, and I will try to answer them. And also I will try to ask my friend if there will be some question to him to answer the question. And I think that's it.
All right.